As you learn about the narcissistic pattern, it's also wise to reflect on the much healthier alternatives. Now, below you're going to find a link to my new extensive course called Ready, Set, Connect. It addresses both the mindset and the skills involved in gratifying relationships, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. One of the giants in the field of psychotherapy is Viktor Frankl. He came into prominence after World War II. He had been an Austrian neuropsychiatrist prior to the German takeover of much of Europe, and being Jewish, he had been placed in the concentration camps, and there, of course, he experienced all sorts of atrocities. It's unimaginable what he had been through, but he survived. And as he went back to his life, such as it was, and he was trying to make sense of it all, he came to the conclusion that in order to maintain any kind of personal or emotional equilibrium, we have to come to terms with the question, what is the meaning of life? And this is not an intellectual kind of pursuit, where you go up and find that guru on top of the mountain and ask them, oh, great guru, what's the meaning of life? No, it's much bigger than something like that. And the way that he would go about it is he would talk with his patients and ask, what does life mean to you? What will you do with the life that's been given to you? Now, I want us to bring this into the world of narcissism, and I want you to think, how deeply do you suppose narcissists think about that? What does life mean to you? What are you going to do with the life that's been given to you? Now, sometimes narcissists can be thinkers. They can have ideologies, in other words, very commonly in the field of philosophy or spirituality. You can have people that are strongly opinionated that go into that direction. Sometimes it can even be in terms of how you manage governments or even wealth and economics and things like that. But you tend not to think of narcissists as being those who have good answers to that question. Instead, we see that narcissism have a life that ultimately hurts people. And to me, and I suspect Viktor Frankl, that's not a life that's ultimately meaningful. I want you to think about some of the things that drive a narcissist relative to that huge question. You see, now what drives narcissists, what gives them meaning is correctness. It's like they think to themselves, well, if I can be the one that gets all the answers right, that makes me the authority, and that makes me somebody who can tell people what to do. And what it ultimately does is it allows them to other those who don't agree with them. They're the ones who pronounce right versus wrong, and you know where you're going to fit in that one. But somehow that gives them a feeling of significance. I'm not even going to say meaning, but that's what they draw upon. Or in addition, we can also say that narcissists, as they try to figure out, where they're going to go with their life, it's like, well, another thing I need to do is I need to learn how to protect my ego. They have such a hidden sense of insecurity, and rather than trying to engage in the world in such a way that they're honest about it, it's like, no, I need to cover that part up because that's going to diminish me if people know my hurts and my struggles. They can be very defensive or secretive or unwilling to trust and unwilling to reveal vulnerabilities. And so that becomes part of their driving way of life. Or in addition, when you ask narcissists, or if they could go this way, what gives them meaning? It's like, well, I find meaning when I have the upper hand over people. They like being condescending over individuals. They like thinking of themselves as being superior versus being inclusive. And as a result, these individuals are driven by a real strong critical mindset. In addition, one of the things that drives narcissists is they think to themselves, well, ultimately, my needs, my feelings, my interpretations of things have to be protected at all costs. And so they don't really have any kind of empathy for other individuals. They invalidate very easily. And then in addition, they go a little bit further and they'll say, well, I really have a good life if I can somehow or another gratify my various cravings, whether we're talking about hedonism or their addictions or just their irresponsibilities in general, or many of them have a lack of a moral compass because it's all about, well, just me having fun in the moment. And so to make matters worse, we can say that some narcissists are so void in thinking anything at all on a deep level that they just kind of go more to an animalistic level. I remember talking with one man, and he was just into, wine, women, and song, that kind of thing. And I mentioned the word pensive. I just said, sometimes you need to pull back and have a pensive approach toward life. And he looked at me, and he wasn't arguing the meaning of the word. He knew what the word pensive means, but he just looked at me and said, why would I do that? And it was so telling that he responded in that way. I don't want to be pensive. I don't want to think things through. And as a result, when you don't really think about who you are and where you're going and what the meaning of your life is, it leaves you vulnerable to just operating off of raw instinct, which is why so many narcissists have issues with anger. As soon as something goes wrong, they'll either lash out at you and go into the bully kind of mentality, king of the jungle or the queen of the jungle. They can be cold and calculated. They can be predators and you're the prey. Like I say, they can go into hedonism. It's my merriment in the moment. And as a result, that question that Viktor Frankl likes to challenge people with, what are you going to do with the life that you have, is just pure, raw self-absorption. Now, if you're attached to a narcissist, it may be that you're so busy trying to fend off what's going on with them and you're reacting so much to all of the initiatives that they take that maybe you don't really think very carefully about that question. What is it that gives your life meaning, and what does your life mean to you? But I'm hoping you can pull back and think, wait a minute. These individuals with this strong narcissistic bent don't put a lot of thought into that. And I can't afford not to put thought into that. So when we talk about what separates healthy people from narcissism, we realize I'm not so into self-gratification and dominance and hurting people and judging and controlling that I forget that there's an interconnectedness here in this life. There was an interesting survey several years ago that talked about, the characteristics that were most predominant in people that had a sense of calmness and gratification in life. And the number one ingredient that showed up on the survey of with people who have that calm and peaceful life is they had regular moments of assisting and serving other individuals in an altruistic way. And, being helpful and showing kindness, volunteerism, things like that. And so when we talk about truly having a sense of well-being and peace, that's the direction we want to go. When you ask, what is my meaning in life? I'm hoping you can come up with other alternatives like, well, I find meaning by creating a safety zone for other individuals. I want people that when they're in my presence to know that I'm somebody that's safe, that can be trusted. I'm hoping that you can go in the direction that says I can respond to conflicts and differences with an open mind. That's who I am. That's what I stand for. I have my thoughts, but I know you have yours. Let's see if we can work through all of that in a coordinated kind of way. People that have a truly meaningful life notice what's right about people as opposed to chronically criticizing. They express affirmation and they mean it, as opposed to just thinking of people as being, there to be exploited. In other words, as long as you have utility to me, then that's it. In other words, get out of here. Meaningful people don't think that way. People who have a healthy sense of meaning are curious about others, and they take that curiosity and turn it into an anticipation of other people's needs and feelings and concerns, so that as they engage with them, they're doing so in a coordinated kind of way. In other words, there's a real deep sense of empathy, which is why we put so much emphasis on that. Meaning comes when you excel, whether it's in your work or in your domestic chores or in your general tasks and responsibilities. And there's a reliability there where people can say, I'm in the presence of somebody whose word matters. And they operate in such a way that interconnectedness really does move forward. When you have meaning, you know when to be gentle. You also know how to be firm, and you're able to blend those together. And certainly you're able to maintain self-restraint under the recognition that says, not everything's about me. I want to take regard for my needs, but I want to do so in light of yours as well. So when you go back and think about narcissists and that question, what does life mean to you? What are you going to do with the life that's been given to you? Most of them don't even think about that in the least. And if they do, they think in terms of power and dominance and superiority. I'm hoping that you and I on Team Healthy can come back around and say, I want to have a meaningful life. And I don't want to be at war with these individuals who are vying for all of their self-absorbed kind of things. I'm going to move into a different direction. And I like being coordinated. I like being grounded in peace and love. And so if somebody talks with me about having meaning, I'm thinking, I can do that. I want to do that. And I'm hoping that in doing so, it distinguishes you as being someone whose life is worthy to be emulated. That's a good goal to have. Now, I hope that videos such as this give you some good food for thought. And I want to see if we can learn to distinguish that narcissistic pattern versus the healthy pattern. If you've not already done so, I would strongly encourage you to hit that subscribe button, the notification bell that goes along with it, and we'll be bringing more videos toward you. If you have a need for therapy, and the more you go into this kind of thinking, the more it could lead you to think, I could use somebody that could help me sift this out. We have a sponsor, and the link is below that can take you to online therapy. I'm very pleased to be associated with the BetterHelp people. That's a very, online therapy is a very common thing to do now, and it's proven to be very popular and very helpful toward individuals. So if the need is there, I would encourage you to go through that link. Also, we are growing in our courses that I have. And when I say courses, I'm talking about multiple modules and then videos, which are lessons within those modules, and written materials and pensive questions that go along with that. My new one, Ready, Set, Connect. This is me, free to be. And so you'll find links below to those. In addition, we have my books and other resources below. I do hope that you're able to find meaning, and I hope that you're able to find meaning with a good combination of having self-care and self-love, as well as consideration of others and knowing how to blend well. When you're able to do that, you've pulled something off that's quite good. And in doing so, I hope that it positions you to be that person of love and goodness, and one who lives in peace and who spreads peace.